Hello, how's it going? Yeah, I just have to check and make sure my YouTube thing is going again. I can't see it on YouTube. Just hang on there a second. Yeah, so I just want to do this stream really, as I say, about alliances we can make and whatever. There's a few obvious sort of, enemies or whatever that we shouldn't really be talking about making alliances with, like, you know what I mean? And so I just want to talk about them a little bit, and then some possible, as I say, friends that we have. And so sorry, I just want to talk about them a little bit, and then some possible. Sorry about that. As I say, friends. Right, okay, I'm back. Professional, super professional. Right, so yeah, as I say, some alliances and some obvious enemies that we have. When I am like kind of like, I'm probably going to say we a bit in that I'm not claiming to speak for Irish nationalism or anything like that. It's just difficult not to say it, like, you know what I mean? So it just works out that way. So just say from my own personal perspective, my own ideology, like that, if I'm saying we or anything like that. And also, like, I'm not trying to attack anybody here or anything like that. I just think that ideologically there are people that we can talk to and that are on our side, and there are people that are not on our side. And obviously a good few people who claim to be on our side aren't. You know what I mean? They're not on our side. So the first obvious one for me is Islam. And, like, a few people have been talking about, what can we learn from Islam and whatever. And I'm not saying we shouldn't look at Islam and what it is and learn about it and all that stuff, but in a practical sense, it's a major threat to us as Irish people, ethnically, to our way of life and on all that stuff, because it is not it's not conducive to our history and on our way of life and stuff like that. So it can't be part of nationalism. Like, I think it's pretty straightforward. So, like, there's a good few reasons for it, right? So if for Islam, like, some people kind of think, look, they're real based, they're ethnocentric and whatever, right? They are sort of effects of what Islam is. Like, Islam is it's a law unto itself. Like, it's a separate law that they follow to whatever degree they follow it. They don't really worry about whatever law. Like, if they're living in England, they're still following Islam, to the best degree they can. They're not looking like they're never going to integrate or anything like that. Like, they're Muslims, and that's the main thing to them. And fair enough, that's what they want to do. Like, you know what I mean? But yeah, as I say, so that's because they have their own law. We can't really, you know what I mean? Like God has told them what to do and all this stuff. So that's where they're coming from. Like, they're not, as I said, they're not on our side, obviously, and like they're never gonna help us out. Like, you know what I mean? They want not every single Muslim, but the way that the religion is set up, that it is set up to colonize, really. So, like, it has that system, it has its own system of law, right? It's Sharia law, and like each of them follows it to a different degree, but they base their lives on it. on this law that they think is handed down to Muhammad from God, right? So it has a system law, and it is a political ideology as well. Like they have everything set up to basically set up a state, an Islamic state, and that it's all there in the book and the other books that they have. Like it's everything is written out for them. Do this, do that. If you get to this, do this and do that. This is what you do. Get up in the morning, wash your face and hands, do this and that, pray 5 times a day, everything. It's all there for them. And they don't have to work hard. Like we have to come up with stuff, like, you know what I mean, to get what we want. They just follow all these rules, and like you're either a Muslim or you're a non-Muslim, and you're treated differently whether you're a Muslim or you're a non-Muslim. And that's what some people on the right, like they think this is great, like this is really based and whatever. But it's just like, it's like an actual steamroller, like, you know what I mean, that will really do damage to us, like, you know what I mean. So we have to understand who our enemies are, like, you know what I mean. And Islam is not a friend of ours. I'm not talking about individual Muslims or whatever in the community, but as an ideology and what Islam is, it's a threat to Irish nationalism, like, you know. So yeah, like in England, you can see it in England. This is what will happen everywhere. When you saw the thing recently about Afghanistan, like Afghanistan was Buddhist or something some time ago. And like what happens is just once Islam gets in and it grows, you get the more radical element who want to follow the more radical laws and all that sort of thing. And as they grow, then they're more forceful about following the laws. And even the more moderate Muslims then they can't argue with the fact that the more extreme Muslims are saying, look, this is written in the book. This is what Allah wants us to do. Like, you know what I mean? We're special. We're the Muslims. They're non-Muslims. You know what I mean? And the only way around that is conversion or whatever for you. But like in England, right? So the rape gangs proliferated in the communities, and the Muslim communities never did anything about it. But not to mind the Muslim communities didn't do anything about it. The British government turned a blind eye to it. The police never arrested people for it, or they arrested young girls for it and whatever. So like it shows that Zionism, let's say, right, is using Islam to attack ethnic English people, right? It's using it to destabilize the country. And like this, it's the same thing that happened. It's the same thing that happened in the north with loyalists and the nationalists in the north. British government colluding with Zionists to try and wipe out the ethnic natives or whatever, antagonize them, blow them up and kill them, whatever, like, you know what I mean? So like the same thing is happening there in England to the English, yeah, because of Islam being there. You know what I mean? And once again, I'm not saying like, you know, individual Muslims or anything like that, but as an ideology, it's being used to wipe out ethnic Europeans. You know, that's what's happening at the moment. So like we as nationalists need to just say they are not our friends. They're not ideologically, they're not our friends. We can't work with them. Right? We can't work with them. We can't trust them. They're not going to, you know, Allah comes first. The book comes first and whatever, like, you know. So that's Islam. a definite enemy, ideological enemy, right? And the other one is, okay, like fake nationalists. there's a few of them here, and this is it's sort of it's a it's a topic that's relevant at the moment, because you have one particular Irish guy who is working with loyalists, and the problem with that is that loyalists are obviously, like, they're the original planters. This is the same thing that's happening now with third world migration. Happened, 400 years ago or whatever, as well, in the north, and it was done by the same people, right? So, like, loyalists are obviously our enemies. Like there's no way that they're not, right? So the plantation of Ulster originally was funded and carried out by City of London guilds, all right? And the guilds they're like representational bodies for different guilds in the City of London, right? But like they were taken over by, like, specific ethnic group for their own benefit, right? And they paid for the plantation of Ulster, right? They rebuilt Derry, right? Why? So that's why it's called Londonderry, because they own it. It's like, you know what I mean? And I think they did Coleraine as well, or something like that. So, like, these people are obviously as well Zionists again, right? The loyalists are never going to be our friends. So, like, the Barking did an article about it today, and it was just like, ring fence these people, like, just torch them or whatever. Like, they're just nothing to do with us. Okay. Same thing, the lodges as well. Like, that's all Kabbalism, Jewish mysticism, and all that stuff. These people are, as I say, enemies. Britanats, right? Like, it's getting a bit intense for me here, right? Like, I'm not trying to make enemies or whatever, but okay, they just ideologically don't agree with us. They're not going down the same road as us. So, like, British nationalists, they're Zionists as well. They're imperialists, like. So, like, the Tommy Robinson, or a new thing came up there. Fellas calling themselves 37 Gang, right? They came up against, like, the 14 words, like this 14 words thing. I think it, whatever, it's a good idea and whatever, but it's not really what we don't need to do that. We don't need to do that 14 words thing, okay? We have enough in our own history, like our whole history up to now. You know what I mean? We don't need that 14 words. But this 37 Gang, anyway, they're coming along going, yeah, it's about the empire and blah, 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 and British people, but they're all saying, once, values, this values thing. I mean, this must be recent. I think this is crazy stuff. Values like that. Once people have British values, then they're British, and this is all this civic nationalism stuff, this citizenship kind of a thing, like that. Like, that's also Zionism, right? Because it's just set up to defend the system. Like, so, like, this, even you hear I'm saying about Irish nationalism, that it is about equality and whatever, and that, people can just, once you're an Irish citizen, then you're Irish and all. This thing, like, if that was the case, nobody would have bothered, because they all would have been just happy to be British people. We're British citizens, we're British. This nonsense. So civic nationalism, obviously, all of those people as well, right? And same, like, that's American people. Anybody who is talking about values and citizenship, anything like that, it's Zionism. You know what I mean? It's civic nationalism. They just want citizens. It doesn't matter. So they're throwing out citizenships. They're flooding people, pumping people into the country, giving citizenship. They're Irish, whatever, economy and whatever. Like, you know what I mean? So that's them. And obviously then you're kind of, I don't know, like kind of, I'm, well, obviously I'm a tiny YouTube channel, but you get people and they kind of have, I don't know, they're grifters, or they're sort of trying to pitch for a kind of a more global type of a more global type of um an ideology, like, you know, like for white people or whatever. So they're gonna get hits from America and Australia, and it's this thing like where, oh, whatever, white people get together, whatever, and it goes nowhere, and it's a waste of everybody's time. So I wouldn't get involved with those. And then I think Patriots, like the Patriots thing is a bit weird. It's someone there said the word patriot was calling out ethno nationalism and whatever. I think there's a lot of people there within, you know, the patriot movement, everyday normal people who kind of, they're into it. They're into individual rights. They don't like the way their country's going, and they see kind of good production and, you know, like, yeah, well produced and well thought out arguments and good shows and stuff like that, and the rallies are well organized and stuff like that, and they want to get involved in that sort of thing. I've nothing against that, like, you know what I mean. I mean the sort of mainstream patriot move, like the yellow vest thing, is obviously nonsense, but the people who are getting involved in that, I think, like they're huge potential for us to recruit from. You know what I mean? So I think we need to sort of take that in a bit of kind of go easy on them or whatever in a way, because I think there's a load of people there that really their basic position is, you know, kind of a normie republicanism type of thing. You know, Ireland for the Irish and all, that's an easy thing for people to understand. Unless you're pretty much on the left ideologically, I think probably, you know, you're thinking like Ireland for the Irish is a pretty straightforward sort of phrase, like, you know what I mean? Sorry there. I'm just going to take a sup because I'm going to change over there now and sort of talk about maybe some friends and allies. Which we have a few. I just want to say hello to the chat there. Thanks a million. I'm trying to just have a look at it there. Yeah, thanks everybody. Celtic People Archive, cheers. Lug, thanks. Yeah, so to just go on maybe and talk about friends and allies. The big one is just straightforward normie Irish people. Like, as I was saying there, like people who are getting involved in the Patriot movement, definitely. But even, you know, older people and whatever, they live through a lot of crazy stuff. And like, they don't think that was so that we could just import hundreds of thousands of third worlders or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, I mean, anyone who's probably over 30, their parents grew up in a nationalist Ireland. We were doing it for ourselves. That's what people thought. It's not really what happened, but people bought into that. It was pitched as a positive thing all the time. The sports, music, everything. We were supposed to be doing it for ourselves. That was what supposedly was happening. I know all of a sudden, like in the last 20 years, oh no, what all that was about importing people from all over the world, like, you know what I mean, to just fill the place up. Doesn't make sense. Most, as I say, normal people, they don't think that like it's about third world immigration. Like, they're still kind of there, like they're still in that place where they think, oh yeah, republicanism, Ireland, and Ireland for the Irish, and that really, like, you know. So I don't think it's you know, difficult to speak to those people and then say, look at what the banks and Google and Apple and all are doing to our country. You know what I mean? Even the data centers is one. You know, like ESP said, they're going to be doing shutdowns or something. And like these data centers are just absolute energy sumps. Like they just soak up massive amounts of electricity, and they contribute nothing. They don't pay anything to keep them here then. Whenever they're advertised like hundreds of jobs and blah blah, that's to build a center. Them centers just run themselves. They're just massive server banks. 2 or 3 maintenance techs, right? And the things are worth billions. I don't know how. I'd love to see how much electricity they use. I mean, I guarantee you to get a discount on the electricity they use as well. But oh yeah, so that's about that. So yeah, so normal people. Also, for myself, I think alliances. Anyone who's anti-vax for me is a friend of mine, because I'm just not getting one. It's really the big issue for me. It's really the bigger issue for me because it's immediate. Like, you know what I mean? It's coming in soon, definitely in the next 12 months. And the ramifications like of not getting vaccinated is going to be you don't get you're not going to get healthcare. All right. You know, eventually they're not going to allow you into a hospital if you're not vaccinated and this sort of stuff. And so, like, there is going to be, I don't know how many people are not going to actually, in the end, not get vaccinated. A lot of people now talk about, oh, they're not going to do it. But, like, are you going to be willing to lose your job and whatever else, as I say, not have access to healthcare? Or if there's some food shortages down the line, are you going to be able to look after yourself because you're going to be at the back of the queue? Like, we'll be at the back of the queue anyway, just for being Irish. Okay. But like, are you going to be able to make the stand to say, no, I'm not doing this? And will we have the network around us then to be able to carry it out? You know what I mean? I don't know. But as I say, it's a big one for me. So anyone who's not getting vaccinated genuinely, and that'll be in your community as well, if either you're vaccinated and you're allowed travel on the bus, or you're not vaccinated and you're basically a leper in your own community. That is the future for us. Like, so that's a big one for me. And again, that's personally, like, I'm not mainstream. I'm not mainstream nationalism, like, by any means. Yeah. So, like, yeah, vaccinations. Yeah, right. So I've got a few notes here, and I've gone pretty heavy on the vaccination, but I'm just going to go for it because I wrote it out. I was going to say, will I leave it off? Like, so in the long run, for me, this thing about the vaccinations and whatever, like, they're closing businesses down. Small businesses are finished, right? In Ireland, pubs, they're like, they're just not going to survive, right? In terms of being a small business. But what's going to happen with pubs is Witherspoons is going to move in and just take over the pubs. They're just going to be chains. People aren't going to be able to, as I say, run small businesses. It's difficult. I have had businesses myself before, and it is tough. And like, if in this environment, nobody's going to want to open up a business. And if you have a business, it's like a pub. They're calling them wet pubs and whatever. They're driving them into the ground. Nobody's going to have any money, or is not going to be able to generate much of an income at all. Definitely not in the old school ways of setting up a business for yourself or whatever. So that's going to be restricted. People who, like, if you want to get a job in any sort of a corporation, you're going to have all these vaccinations and all that. It's going to be the big decision ahead, I think, in the next 12 months. Like, you know what I mean? But what I've written down here is that only the people who don't get vaxxed, I think, really can consider themselves the genuine continuation of the Irish nation. Because what's happening with the vaccines is that right, your coronavirus is an RNA virus, and RNA is like a precursor to DNA, and it modifies DNA. In a natural system, like, you know what I mean? You have DNA and you have RNA, and RNA creates DNA and modifies DNA. So this is an RNA virus, and it's an RNA vaccine. And like, I mean, in the situation we're in at the moment, like where we are sort of being ethnically replaced, that, you know, the plan from the States is that we just pump people in from wherever. And also the same people who have this plan to pump third worlders into Ireland, they also have a plan to give everybody a vaccination. Now, these people do not have our interests at heart, and they have access to genetic modification technology. I don't know what they're going to do with it. I don't care, because it's not going into my body, right? The problem with the genetic modification is they modify your genes, modify your children's genes. You cannot change that. None of your children, grandchildren, and all that have a choice. You've modified their heritage. You have altered their genes. Like, that's what's coming with the vaccine for me. And either people have the balls and the wherewithal to not accept it and come up with new solutions, or they're just going to be subsumed into this, whatever this thing is going to be, this the corporate state, like the beast system. Like, it's end time stuff. It's the choice will have to be made, like whether you're going to be part of this system where you're just tracked everywhere, everything you do is analyzed, and you can do this or that, you're everything. Either be part of it, and you'll have to consciously make that decision. I am going to be part of this system where I get vaxxed. However often they decide, every 6 months, every 3 months, they can come up with any story and say, oh yeah, no, this virus is changing every half hour, so we have to give you a vaccine every 2 weeks. Whatever, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter, because the majority of people will believe it, because it'll be on the telly 8 times a day, and people just, it's just part of the human condition. People hear shit repeated. They just believe it. They didn't like. They just actually can't help it. It's just the way it works. Like, you know what I mean? So like, if you're someone and you're thinking, okay, maybe that the global state is out to get me and my people, and at the same time you're thinking, oh, I might get this vaccine, have a look into the less mainstream stuff about vaccines. You know, it's not good, and I wouldn't trust these people with that power. Like, you know what I mean? So that's okay, those things. Yeah, I think there is big backlash against what's going on. It's good, but at the same time, do we have the skills, like, and things to sort of pull ourselves out of it, or create something else? Like, create something else is what I think we actually need to be at. Like, so that's why I'm saying I'm not really mainstream, because obviously we're looking like nationalism is a political thing, and if you're a political movement, you have to believe that there's a political solution. There's no political solution in the next 5 years. Nothing is changing. I wouldn't be surprised if there was never an election again. Like, whatever, you know, they'll just come up with something. I don't know. So we need other types of tactics as well. I'm not saying anybody shouldn't be doing anything political. We should. We need to get the word out and all this stuff. But we need to do other things as well. Like, I mean, building community. I mean, building parallel systems. But right, so to go on to maybe another group of friends, right? It's an obvious one as well, I suppose. It's just other ethno nationalists. I don't like the word ethno nationalist anymore, like, because it's going to be used like Nazi and fascist and all that. I can see it being set up now, like, you know what I mean? And in other countries, it'll probably work very well, but luckily for us, I mean, like, other nationalists in other countries wish they had what we have here, like, you know what I mean? We don't even have to come up with anything. We just have to look at our history, see what's happening, see what has happened, and just say, look, the same thing is happening today as has always happened. We just need to just read our history and come up with modern solutions, come up with new solutions for us. But they're not going to be, for me, they're not going to be within the system. But so, yeah, ethno nationalists are our friends, I think, because obviously, again, like to the normal Irish person, that's what Irish nationalism is, because it's about Irish people, and we're different from Scottish people and English people and whatever. And this is normal, straightforward stuff until the last whatever 10 years or whatever. So I don't know, like, about Europe and that, like, about their nationalism. I kind of followed there. I can't even remember his name. But Garrod had him on a couple of times, and he used to be on about the Spanish type of kind of fascism, and it was in with Catholicism and stuff like that. He was quite interesting. That's about it. All I know about them, and obviously German Simon Harris. Yeah, and he was good. He was good, and he was interesting, and he was doing a lot of videos about it and stuff. But it's not useful for us really, and like, what you call it, the other one then obviously is German nationalism and whatever. Like, they work off totally different systems. They don't speak our language and all this stuff. And I wish them all the best, but, like, I'm not going to go learning German or Spanish or anything like that. So that's it. Like, what, like, I wish Europe all the best, but I don't really know much about it, and I don't know how it's going to work out for them. I don't really know, like, you know what I mean? But I think we can have, like, let's say, allies, people we can talk to and learn from in America and Australia. But again, like, their situation is so different, because they can't make the argument that we make, that we're from here for thousands of years, right? We deserve to have the benefits of our own homeland, like, yeah, and not for it to go to international banking and to get sucked dry by corporations and everything. The Americans, great. Jared Taylor's one of my favorite speakers, but they can't make that argument. And, I don't know, I wish them luck. Like, Australia, now looking at Australia, and no, I think a lot of the cops assaulting pregnant women stuff is something dodgy about it. But I don't think they have any sort of, like, constitution, or they don't have any rights. They were started as a penal colony. So my assumption would be it's still run as a penal colony, like, and if they want to go back to what do they want, like, you know what I mean? They can't. So they have no position to go, oh no, they've been took away from this position. What was it? It was a work colony, a penal colony. So, like, my thing is, they should all come back home, right? That's going to be next week's stream. But so, like, we can have alliances. I think the best allies for us, or closest ideologically for us at the moment, and it might sound weird to people, but is Patriotic Alternative in England. Okay, like I follow them. Like English are all right, I think. They're pretty funny and stuff like that. I don't mind them. Like they're nice, but a lot of the Britnets, like, or whatever they're called, like they're like imperialists. You know what I mean? Like they're all about Churchill and empire and all this, and it's all nonsense. It's not nationalism. But I think the English are starting to kind of cop on with it, like patriotic alternative. They're about English people. They're not talking really about the empire. I don't want to speak for them, but they're not talking about the empire. Like they're talking about English people and preserving them as an ethnic group and their culture and the stuff that they've created and stuff. So that totally fits with us, even though I know they're English and whatever. But they're sort of getting to where Irish nationalism has been for a long time, because that's what it's all about for me. Like, you know what I mean? It's the people, the preservation of the people, and our culture and our way of life, and what people before us wanted us to have, and what we should want for our children and stuff like that. So, like at the moment, like they're doing pretty well, and I don't know. I like a lot of the stuff they talk about. Like, okay, obviously they do have a bit of a kind of an issue. I don't know, Hitler and shit like that. Hitler's just fucking like what a nightmare. Like it's just a waste of time. Nobody from here or England or anything should be really talking up Hitler. Like, you know what I mean? It's a stupid argument. I know people are saying, like, you know, that the whole narrative is a lie and all. But look, the whole thing is a waste of time. You don't need it to make relevant points. Um, so yeah, so like that, there is a couple of bits like that, you know, or the White Lives Matter thing. We don't need that here. We don't need to want to go White Lives Mattering. Do you know what I mean? We need to want to go to Irish people and what we need for ourselves and what we're entitled to and what we deserve. You know, but so yeah, like so like that's up to them, whatever they want to say. But like their presence is, it's about the preservation of English people as an ethnic group. So that's a solid position, and it'll attract good people. And um, I think they are doing well. Like I think they are recruiting and stuff like that. And like, you know, I don't even care if they're a political party or not. I don't care if they run, you know, candidates in elections or anything. Elections might never happen again. Seriously. So like, what they are doing though is building community groups, and they're also doing a bit of activism, and I think that can only be good, like, you know. And I listen to a few of them, and you know, like you have Laura Towler and Mark Led, and they're big, but like there's other small channels get involved and stuff. And I just think it's quite positive to see it happening, and it's I think it's similar to our nationalism. It's similar to what we want. They're they're not asking for much. They're not looking for a lot. Like, no, like they're not going to be able to get into government, and I don't think, personally, I don't think, you know, there'll be any repatriations or anything. I don't know, you know what I mean? But like what we need to do is prepare for the worst, like, you know what I mean? I hope for the best, like, but prepare for the worst. And you know, begging the government to do things and all this stuff is, it's, I'm not going to say it's a mistake, but like, you know, we've been doing it for a long time. It's not really getting the results. Things are happening now that are just off the scale. Um, you know, top down control. Like, you know, like businesses are getting wiped out on the back of nothing. Um, and like, you know, this things of green countries and all. It's ridiculous. Like it's absolute nonsense on the face of it, because green country for us is somewhere that has a lower infection rate or whatever they want to use than us. So we're going to be a red country to them. It's just it's just it's just really bad. But like people just are unable. It's just constant nonsense, and people are just not able to process it. People aren't able to process it. They can't just keep going. Hang on a second. Hang on a second. No, wait a second. Last week you said this. No, it's this. No, it's that. Oh, you can wear a plastic visor. You can do this. Like, I don't know. I don't know. But I do think that, yeah, we don't have that many potential allies. But I think any ethno nationalists are it. I think it's well lucky as well in Ireland that like you'd nearly know people by the way they talk. Like you just think yes or no. You know what I mean? You know, like you can think, why is this person talking about, Nazi Germany or whatever, an Irishman? What is it? Why is it relevant? It's not relevant. Only thing it's relevant for is, like trying to pitch to, kids who are into Nazism. It's not doing nationalism. But so I think that's it in terms of friends and enemies. I just think we don't have that many friends, but we do need to get in touch with them, I think, or whatever. You know what I mean? Maybe not, but that's kind of all I have to say on it, I think. Yeah. So I'm just going to sorry, no, I haven't even been able to read through the chat or anything because I trying to concentrate there. Like, I want to say thanks to the chat. Yeah. Yeah, so I suppose I'll leave it there, really. So I say thanks a million for tuning in. I'm going to do one next week on, bringing them all home and how, Ireland and Britain is very strategic and I won't give away too much in case somebody robs on my ideas. What? Yeah, nice one. Okay, thanks a million, guys, and I'll talk to you soon. Okay, thanks. Bye.